Begin.
Super Hexagon is a game I've been playing quite a bit recently. It's fairly simple. You maneuver a triangle to avoid walls closing in with a hexagonal shape. With Tria.OS being in a less than desirable state right now, to put it lightly, I needed new fun games that I could play without too much thought. However, this game reminded me of Enszo's first timeline, specifically Focus. I mean, what can I say? It uses the same soundtrack, Focus by Chipzel, as the Hexagon stage. Additionally, when the map becomes monochrome, the Hexagon audio plays, which is exactly the same for Hexagonist. It becomes monochrome as well. If you played in Tria public servers for more than 2 seconds, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Hexagon.
Obviously, this only applies if you played before the, thing. With Tria.OS being in a less than desirable state right now, to put it lightly. Anyways, back on track. The small room sequence in Focus shares the exact same color scheme transition as Hexagonist. With the color of the lava and buttons being pink, it transitions into yellow after that being the color of the final tower. The last thing I have to say about this is that the final tower is in the shape of a hexagon, which is, Stop. Let's slow down a little bit.
Let's slow down a little bit.
Slow down by 800 times. This is Lost in Time, the map that comes right after Focus in Enszo's timeline. This also marks the beginning of the monochrome expansion in the timeline. Both Final Hexagon and Lost in Time use the song Focus to slow it down by 800 times, and plays right after Focus does chronologically. Also, Lost in Time scrolls through previous stages, much like the ending sequence of Super Hexagon, although scrolling forwards instead of backwards. That's about all I have to say about Lost in Time.
But it could turn any drink from a beverage to an
beverage to an elixir.
With Tria.OS being in a less than Waving Facility is a map that comes right before Focus in the timeline. One allusion to the Super Hexagon transition is the hexagonal portal shape to the Focus path. However, there is something that is much more important in this map that has to be talked about. These are the time layers of Enszo's first timeline. As you can see, it goes from slipstream to reality to monochrome to monovoid and to inverse. If you don't know what they mean already, slipstream means time is going faster than normal, reality means normal, monochrome means slower, monovoid means completely stopped, and inverse means time is going backwards. Each time layer corresponds to the level of saturation, just like in Super Hexagon. It goes from reality to monochrome, where everything becomes black and white, which is -1 saturation, and it goes to monochrome to monovoid when everything is either black or white. Now we have talked a little bit about the monochrome expansion, which includes Lost in Time, Monocrex, and Monoscape, but we have not talked about Monovoid yet.
But it could turn any drink from a beverage to an elixir.
Welcome to Monovoid, the finale to the monochrome expansion, although it's in a different time layer. The theme of the map is mostly about how things don't follow the normal rules, because it's non-Euclidean. This is an obvious reference to the final hexagon. Other than the color scheme, it doesn't follow the main rules of Super Hexagon because there is no constant rotation and there are no indicators for each hexagonal section. This is a bit of a tangent, but one thing that I find interesting about the use of chiptune in Super Hexagon are the square waves. The entire point of a square wave is so that there are only two states, playing or not, just like black or white. Pretty cool, huh? Oh cool, a fan-made map. I guess people really like the monovoid time layer. Oh god, it's spreading! Oh no. Yeah, it was pretty bad right before the monovoid release. You may be wondering why I'm taking you back to the ending sequence of Super Hexagon. I've already covered every reference in the actual timeline, right? Well, yes, but I wanted to do some theory crafting, specifically about the unexplored time layer inverse. In my eyes, it's very possible that the inverse time layer is inspired on this ending sequence. I mean, the other time layers I talked about were definitely inspired by it, so why not inverse? This might not be the only thing that inverse could be based off of, however. This is because the sequence does not follow the same saturation rules as the other stages of Super Hexagon, since in the timeline the saturation would be reversed, aka inverted colors. Luckily, we are not done with Super Hexagon just yet. This is Hexagoner, stage 2 of Super Hexagon.
Hexagon.
That's right, the colors become inverted upon reaching 60 seconds and transitioning into the hyper mode. These are my only two ideas for an inverse inspiration from Super Hexagon, since there's no direct exploration or explanation in the actual timeline. Since we don't know much about the time layer, I'll leave it up to you. And with that, I've gone over everything I wanted to. If you have anything in the comments that you want to say about it, feel free to say it. And as always, thank you for watching.
Objection!
Yeah, so it turns out that U0 explores the inverse time layer. While it only lasts for like 20 seconds or something, and we don't really learn anything new about it from the map, it's nice to see the saturation rules applied to it. I do wonder if there was inspiration from Hexagoner's transition into hyper mode, since that's probably the more likely answer between the two Super Hexagon references, if that's even what it's based off of. I mean, we'll see where the inverse time layer goes from here, I suppose.
But it can turn any drink from a beverage to an elixir.
Slipstream speeder on! Apparently Nos Astra included Slipstream, but Ethan removed it.
Hexagon.
Okay, so there's probably more about Slipstream in the second time layer, but it's pretty disorganized right now. I just have no idea what's going on with it. If I were to say a similarity in Super Hexagon, it'd have to be Bonus Hexagoner, but I can almost guarantee that's definitely not it. It's probably just following the saturation rule, but it's fun to think about, in my opinion. So yeah, that's definitely the last thing I have to say about the time layers, especially in regards to Super Hexagon. I sure hope that someone doesn't come in and ruin everything and make me make another section in this video, which would be very time consuming and annoying over something that probably doesn't even exist and doesn't make any sense. That'd just be awful, wouldn't it?